Welcome back to the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. We are joined by City Council President in Wilmington, Theo Gregory. I know education is a passion of yours, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there is a belief that many of the ails of society start with education.
That's absolutely. Absolutely. When I was in school, folks say that it should be self-determination and it comes from the family to education. Historically, it's always been where there are shortfalls in the family, in my community anyway, the education institutions have supplanted what the family may be lacking. And actually, the education system was always an extension of family. As I grew up and generations before me grew up. And there's a severe shortfall and failure in education in an urban community, and particularly predominantly black communities.
And what can you do about that in the city of Wilmington as City Council President?
What I do is I have a voice. I try to influence. I try to persuade. We don't have a school district. Wilmington used to have a school district. I'm a part of an informal group that's meeting and trying to find ways to communicate to the state. And the linchpin to this is this. This urban community needs to have a voice in education. We have to have a voice in education. We don't have it in the context of the 5 school districts that impact the city. We don't have it with DOE. Some people say, well, you have a representative down there. You get a representative on each of the school boards. That's just not enough.
Because you have different problems.
We have different problems
than the county or the state.
One size does not fit all. The notion of what is successful is not a uniform or standardized concept. The notion of how we educate people is not standardized. That's just not the case. The goal, or what you're trying to achieve in educating folk, getting them from one level to the next, it's not uniform. And we have a system that's severely uniform. It's like a cookie cutter approach. It's a business approach. It has this business model of 1 + 1 = 2. But when you're dealing with human dynamics and all the variables of people being human, it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And my suspicion also is a lot of money has creeped into education, the profit motive. I just don't think decisions are being made appropriately when it comes to educating a challenging population in an urban community.
Should Wilmington be its own school district?
You know, the jury's still out on that, because we wouldn't get a lot of the solid families to send their families to that school district. But we have to find some kind of way to ensure that the definition of success in how we educate kids is embedded into the education process. I'm not an advocate for a Wilmington school district because it won't sustain itself financially. It won't sustain itself in terms of resources. But we have to find some hybrid where we ensure that we have a voice. There is some way that we can persuade in terms of how we educate our kids. The problem is this, again, it's driven from the federal government. So the federal government says if your portfolio of schools doesn't look a certain way, we don't give you money. So the state says, well, that's what the Fed says, so everybody's got to look like this. And if you don't look like this, you're a failure. If you don't do it this way, you're a failure, and that's wrong.
And yet the standards that you set are that one size fits all that you were talking about a moment ago, and it's not fair to some urban schools.
It's totally inappropriate. It's totally inappropriate.
Are the schools
I'm not talking about dumbing down the curriculum. I'm just talking about you have to look at things through a different lens in terms of what is success.
Are the schools in Wilmington failing the children now?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, they're failing because of the policies that are in place and how they're trying to go about fixing the situation. They're absolutely failing the kids.
You keep talking about funding as one of the problems for the schools, and the fact that Wilmington couldn't self-sustain even if it became its own school district. As you look for ways of funding within the city, it seems like there's businesses not only in the city but the state that are starting to move out a little bit. Someone brought up, interestingly enough, during the whole casino debate, that there should be more competition. You know, as the casinos are asking for more money back, some people were saying there should be more casinos and that there should be competition for casinos, and that Wilmington should have a casino.
Wilmington, Delaware deserves a casino, even though I'm not a big fan of casinos. Long term, I think that they're not necessarily good for a community. But the premise for casinos in Delaware seems to be tied to racetracks. You have one in each of the counties. The one in here is Delaware Park, but Delaware Park is not the city. Normally what we do is we say one for Sussex. When we do things generally, generically, we do one for Sussex, we do one for Kent, we one for Newcastle County, and we always do one for Wilmington. Well, Wilmington has been left out of the equation. Wilmington, Delaware, from a policy standpoint, deserves a casino. We are entitled to a casino under that format. We don't get one, though, because we don't have racetrack. That's wrong.
Sir, we're wrapping this up, and since you've had some run-ins with the mayor, but you say you're cordial and you get along with him, is it an office that you would like?
Me? Oh, sure. You know, that's a good question. You know.
And only you can answer it.
Okay, I'm the president of Wilmington City Council. I've always said that a person should do the job that they're in. I mean, that's really embedded in me. You do the job that you're in. People who start to make decisions and overly aspire to another position while they're in their current positions, they start to make mistakes. And I think I'm in a very vulnerable situation because not only I'm no longer just an at-large council person, I'm the president of the Wilmington City Council. So I'm leading 12 other people, and I have a staff of about 15 people, and I don't want to get them caught up in my mess at this point in time. So I have to be very guarded in what I say and don't say, so I'm going to be the president of Wilmington City Council. In 2016, I would say at this point in time, I'm going to be the president of City Council. I've talked to folk about other aspirations or other things I can do, and I don't rule anything out. But at this point in time, I'm going to be the president of Wilmington City Council.
And I would guess the fear, and it would be a fair fear, is that if you had aspirations for that office, you can use your current position to make the mayor look bad.
Yeah, I don't want to get people caught up in a mess. I really don't want to get people caught up in a mess. You know, what we do is hard, and I have a very good leadership on City Council, and they're older like myself, and they're here to try to move Wilmington forward. None of us are really, our life is really complete with where we are, but we can do other things to serve, and we're looking to do other things to serve, but we have to move Wilmington forward. I'm all about moving Wilmington forward in the best way that I can as an individual. And again, if I step out and say I'm going to do something else, trying to still lead 12 people, I create a mess, and I'm not going to create that mess.
Thank you so much for coming in today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back with some final thoughts right after this.
Mm-hmm.